Let me see what that does. Give me just a second.
I'm about to roll it. Here we go. It's Making of a Marketer here on a Friday, Jess. It is a happy August. How did we even get here in August? And you already know we got tons of things to talk about today. We have my former boss, MD, we're really excited to have on. We have Sydney Sweeney. We have to get to that, Jess. Like we don't get through one of these episodes without controversy, and it feels like July right at the end brought us some more controversy. And then most importantly, Jess, what we lead off is I saw a note that Spirit Halloween is opening in certain locations this week. So Halloween season is officially in gear, and I know you're very ramped up for that.
I was thinking about you over the weekend. I have not told you this story yet. We were in a store and they pulled out some Halloween decorations. It was neon lights and I thought it was pretty cool, but it was very subtle. And Penny looks at me and she goes, "Mom, why are these Halloween decorations up? It's way too soon." And, and I was like, yes, I need to tell Andy this, but I completely agreed.
No, she isn't ready yet, but maybe it'll grow on her. So I think about frequencies over time, and if she starts seeing Halloween candy for the next 4 weeks, will she start asking for it on September 1st?
Yes, probably. Yeah. More than likely, yes.
Frequency. But important conversations to be had today. We have my former boss, MD Reilly, joining the program, and we got so much to say. Jess, we've been previewing, you and I talking about this for a while, and having a former bosses mini-series of sorts that we could start doing throughout the summer, and MD was the first person I had to call up. So backstory on this, and I don't want to spoil all the surprises we're going to have here today, MD, but we worked together for maybe about right at 6-ish months. So kind of the theme I want to go on with this is, we work with people in marketing, and sometimes you could work with them for 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, but the impact can be very long lasting. And this is something that I go back to a lot in my career because MD found me when I was a little raw, more of a social media manager, not a true marketer yet, had done radio, was kind of this mixed bag of resumes, gave me some important life skills and things and lessons that Jess, you and I talk about quite a bit. So I'm super excited to dive into this today. And MD, I hope that is a good, warm welcome. We are very excited to have you on the podcast today.
That's great. This is a really cool experience with this premise of talking to old bosses. I think that's amazing.
And we're going to see what we uncover, because maybe there's some cool stories. I've got some for you as we go through today. But first off, MD, we have a question we start everybody off with, and it's in the theme of selling ideas. Now, no bigger time than right now to talk about selling ideas, because there's a lot of ideas, Jess, you and I have been talking about that have been getting destroyed on LinkedIn, and we got opinions on that from marketing. But MD, it's not new, because you and I, we've tried to sell through unorthodox ideas, new ideas, things that are very outside the box to different companies. And sometimes they work, sometimes we don't get them through. So tell me what your method to the madness is when you're selling through something that might be a little different.
I don't sell. I connect with emotion. Because you look at, your audience and what are their real needs? Where are they in life? What are they going through? What are gaps that they have that maybe what you do as a product or service, how can it fill that? Well, if you just present the utility of what you do, there's no emotion, there's no buy-in, there's no, oh, I need that, or that's exactly what I'm looking for. What appeals to you is the emotion behind it, the benefit, the takeaway, what's in it for me. And that's where a lot of businesses do struggle, is they're trying to force feed like a door-to-door salesman selling solar at 9 p.m. when you're ready to kick your feet up and Netflix and chill. You're not in the headspace for that. But if you come at it from an emotional standpoint, in an empathetic standpoint, when you really do understand your customer, and it's not just a customer, it's a loyal fan, well, then it's not trying to sell. You're just trying to introduce and connect. And so that's one of the greatest powers that social media gave businesses, especially the small guys, is the ability to really brand yourself in a consistent daily way that used to only be afforded to the big brands with 9-figure annual budgets. But now, as we become way more connected with social media, we also demand way more authenticity. And when you look at ad campaigns that convert, if you're going to be running ad campaigns, it's not the ones that are highly produced and spit and polished. It's the ones that look like it was produced in selfie mode on a cell phone. Because now you don't feel like you're being pressured to listen and to be converted to something you don't really think you need with trickery. It's authentic, it's real, it's a human. And that's where small businesses really have the greatest advantage. And where most brands really struggle is because they still need the ego of the high production Super Bowl type feel of everything they do. And as consumers, we're telling by our actions, we're not into that.
Oh, wow. Okay, MD, starting out strong. Oh, I do have to ask, okay, so random side thought. Do people call you, or did Andy call you like the doctor? I don't know, do people play off your MD?
So MD, it's my first name is Michael-David, and MD has been shortened over the years. But MD, the brand doctor, was actually kind of an idea that a friend of mine had, because I come in and I fix the identity crisis that oftentimes an organization or even a small business is having, and help them realign their core values, their mission, and what really makes them unique, going from outside perception to inside reality. So I come in as kind of a doctor, reassess and help reimagine, and then help retell the story in a way that really resonates with their target audience.
Okay, I love it. I absolutely love it. And based on what you were saying, as the brand doctor, like, how do you get to a place where you can evoke these emotions, or how do you help other marketers evoke the emotions in the consumer?
You have to understand your audience, who you're really talking to. And I see that with the current hot topic of the American Eagle ad campaign with Sydney Sweeney, where I think I made a comment, Andy, on your post actually, or maybe I sent you the thought. And, you know, one thing I've learned about humanity is you will find whatever it is you're looking for. So if you're looking for a reason to be offended, you're going to find it. If you're looking for a reason to really love it, you're going to find it. But as I've found about people, when they're hypercritical and very pessimistic, it's because that's how they are internally. When I study people and I study their behaviors, what somebody says and does is a window into who and where they are. And then our reaction to that is a window into who and where we are in our life as well. So if we're easily offended and triggered by other people and what they're doing, that means I'm not really secure in my own beliefs and the things that I like either, because it's so easily swayed by external influence. So right now, with people being very polarizing, I get everybody wants to throw out their opinion of looking back in hindsight. But, you know, as Annie, as you and I kind of went back and forth, it's very easy to criticize when it wasn't your project and you're on the sidelines, right? You're in the stands. But what I do love about this campaign, and what I think a lot of people are missing in this emotion, is they were talking to their core customer, the young audience that loves Sydney. They're loving their bodies, they're loving who they are. And the whole premise of this campaign, and I've watched it a couple of times to really look at, you know, am I missing something here? And when you take it for what it is, she goes, what was it? I like my jeans. My jeans are blue. It's because it's denim. It's American Eagle. It's wearables. There's no subliminal message here. There's no conspiracy to try to peel back. Some people took it because that's how they viewed it, and you can't control that. But it doesn't mean that was the intention of the creative team or the brand, which ultimately approved what they produced for them. It wasn't like, American Eagle gave the project to the creative team or the agency of record, and then surprise, oh, that's not what we were intending. That whole thing had to go through multiple checks and balances to make sure that they felt it represented their brand and their core audience that they were wanting to appeal to. So, again, people are making a much bigger deal of this than they really should, because it was not talking about genetic gene makeup. They used that as a reference so that people understand the play on words of genes versus genes. That's all this was.
And I really like this topic too, is we're going to lead in now to some of the work you and I have done, MD, because we didn't ever do marketing for Sydney Sweeney, but I'm going to lead into this more and more. We did some marketing for people that wanted to be a little controversial when they hit the social media streams. And I literally, word for word, wrote down their quotes on the social media, and then the comments started fuming in, and we got our wrists slapped because we got too controversial. And you have worked both as someone who started businesses, you've helped businesses, you've taken projects, and you know this more than anyone, is that sometimes you're given a project and you have to make the best of it. They give it to you and go get sales, go get oomph, go get people talking. You got to do a little something out of the box, or it's just going to fall flat. So with that, take us through your journey now, MD. Let's take us back to how you got into marketing, how you, I know, have a background in photography, how this all comes together to where you're at right now.
My people skills is really where it started. And I remember in school getting sent to the principal's office all the time for daydreaming and talking too much. And that's exactly what I do as a professional, which I think is so funny. The path that led me into marketing really came from my ability to really authentically connect with people and get a real natural lead or read on where they are, get an emotional pulse, and naturally not thinking about it from a strategic point of crafting the right questions and manipulating the conversation, but it was really connecting with people face to face. And I was doing business development for an automotive company, and I just noticed my ability to connect with decision owners was really natural. That turned into, hey, we need to rebrand the company. How do we do this? I had some ideas. Not that I was that experienced. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not a producer necessarily, but I am a storyteller in a way that I can get a feel for people. I can get a feel. It's like matchmaking. I can sit down with principals of an organization and then sit down with the people that are building and creating and engineering. And I can start to really connect these dots that a lot of other people that are all about the utility of marketing are overlooking, because it's just not their skill set. And that led me from one opportunity to the next, and that skill continued to grow in really what building a brand is. And I've worked for so long with small businesses that pre-digital social, it was guerrilla marketing, and looking for creative ways to connect with your audience and then get them excited about you in very exciting ways, and aligning them with things that paired those emotions. I remember there was one retailer in a small town, and we did a raffle at the local Friday night high school football game that the whole town showed up for. We did a field goal challenge. And if somebody made the field goal, they were going to win 25 grand. Everybody got a free ticket for entry. And then with that, they also got, I believe it was 25% off within the next 30 days going to that business. And the attention was exponential. It was high energy. It was fun. It brought the brand into, I believe it was 18,000 people of the community at that football game. And it did miraculously well. But again, it was just thinking out of the box. Nobody ever done that with the local high school football team before. So everybody got the ticket, and then the attempt was at halftime, and it was super fun. It was amazing. But then you look now in where we are, I just kept finding myself aligning with small businesses and helping them better connect with their target audience and their core customer. But for me, it was like, what really makes them different? What really makes them better than everybody else? And for a while, I coined it as obvious choice marketing, not being an option, but what helps you become the obvious choice, right? And it was communicating the benefits, the emotional connection, and helping somebody first. Gary Vaynerchuk calls it the jab, 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 right hook, right? Give people information to help them make better decisions.
He's the first one that told me to watch Gary V, just to throw that out there.
Yeah. And, that was the thing that I resonated with Gary, is he understood No matter what business you're in, it comes down to the people that deliver the business and make the product. And when you look at why did they get in the business to do what they do? Why did they make the product the way that they do? Now you've got the story. And people want to support a story. That's why we love Shark Tank. That's why we love How It's Made. That's why we love the show Cops. We love the story. And as ultimately like Cops, yeah, we love to see somebody get chased, but ultimately we want to hear, how did they get to that place in life? You know, we want stories, we want storytelling, and social media really became such an advantage for the businesses that were like, oh, we get to do this on a daily basis and it's free. This is amazing. And that's where the big brands really, they stuttered with it because they didn't know how to monetize it. Agencies didn't know, and this was a struggle that Andy and I found, is the agency didn't believe in our strategies of allowing the principal to be in front and using their voice and their words and their book and their personality to connect, because they didn't know how to monetize it. They didn't know how to make money from it outside of the media buying creative services. But it was the very thing that client needed. So that's what made me rethink, like, man, this, to a degree, somewhat of the agency model was broken at that time. Because they didn't see this as a way that benefited them. There's a client that I have that's in the pest control services, and they had a digital agency that was really a salesman on the front and then third-party deliverables offshore. And it was AI, it was not personal. And the owner of the business was like, I feel like we're missing something, but I don't know what it is. And I said, it's you. It's you, your dad, as a father-daughter business. It's your team, and it's your love for the community. That's the story. We're not, because people ultimately, if you give them no reason to connect with you, the only reason they're going to use to decide is going to be price and peer review. Well, if that's not in your favor and your price is more expensive, how are you going to do it? You got to build value, and value is in the people and what I call heart marketing, the heart behind the business. That's what people want to connect with. And so finding the little elements of heart, which Saab did it really good back in the day with their campaign that was born from jets. Remember that? It really brought together the origin of the expertise, the engineering, the thought, the detail. Sure, it wasn't a cool car, but born from jets, it kind of made it cool again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it did oomph it. So it's where a lot of people struggle, is that, what is my story? Well, why did you start in the first place? Why did you start your business? And then, as you grew it and as you begin, to build a great reputation, you begin to evolve your business. There's so much in there that people need to know. But now, if you're especially a service-based business, and I see this opportunity so huge, construction company, an attorney, a CPA, a plumber, mechanic, pest control, AC repair, all these industries where people there's a real big confidence gap of who's really going to be ethical, who's going to do good business, who's somebody I can trust. Well, if this business owner is not really putting themselves out front to be likable and to be engaged, and you really get a feel, because if you do get an ad, 8 out of 10 people go to a social media page before they ever go to a website, because they know the website is the sales pitch, the social media is the culture, right? But if your culture is non-existent, they have no reason to get green flags. So they're going to go back to peer review and reviews and hopefully making an educated decision. But if you're personal, you put your people in front, you in front, you just constantly tell your story and help your audience, not general, but your audience make better decisions. That's ultimately who they're going to want to do business with. And I see the power right now in local businesses, service-based businesses that have a huge opportunity to be able to do this in an authentic way, that you don't need big, massive budgets, but you do need a presence, and it needs to be a presence that's not transactional. It's about connecting and helping them make a better educated consumer decision.
This ties perfectly into what we were talking about before we went on air. And for the listeners that can't see, MD has a microphone that says 35K. So we were asking him about the 35K, and then, so MD, tell us more about that. And then again, just this, like, how you got into, like, really getting into the consumer's head. And to me, it seems like, again, just making an obvious, like, helping them make an obvious decision.
Mm-hmm. So when I went to college, my career choice was forensic pathology. I wanted to understand the cause, right? Now, a little morbid, and I didn't make it, of course, clearly. But what I loved was researching cause and effect. And what really compels me is human behavior. I mean, I think that's ultimately anybody that's in marketing, that's really what we're in, is understanding human behavior. What drives them? What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their shortcomings? What are their stories that led them to have a level of distrust? And how do you get them over the hump with a brand or a business you're with? Well, on a personal level and through life, we are the common thread through everything: relationships, career, just life. And we have this idea of the outcomes we really want: an outcome in our relationships, an outcome in our life, an outcome in money, an outcome in career, an outcome in fulfillment, outcomes as a parent. You have all these outcomes you want. And, for the most part, we've always been taught, really, if we want better outcomes, we just have to do better. Well, 35K came from some research back in 2016 that I came across, about 2 or 3 different studies, that as adults, we average about 35,000 decisions a day, from the little bitty automatic ones to, maybe more medium ones of like, if I'm going to push the snooze, I'm going to go here for lunch, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to not do that, to the big ones, like who I'm going to date, who I'm going to marry, the house I'm going to buy, the career I'm going to take, big decisions. Well, decisions are going to have an action, both an action and reaction to everything. But I kept asking, okay, but if I really want better outcomes, and it comes from doing better, and doing better comes from making better decisions, well, what are our decisions, what are they rooted in? Well, our decisions are rooted in our belief system, what we believe we can or cannot do. Okay, and you look at beliefs, it could be political, it could be religious, emotional, beliefs about yourselves, or disbelief that you believe you can or cannot do. Well, I kept asking, okay, but where is that belief? What creates that? And, in marketing, you say it enough times, people will believe it, right? We're number one. We're number one. We're number one. Somebody's going to be, hey, those guys are number one, right? It's manipulation/influence. Well, okay, that's true. Then the thoughts that we're having repeated over and over again, and we average about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, which means for every 2 thoughts, you're going to have a decision. 80% of those thoughts are rooted in something negative in life: a mistake, a failure, something traumatizing, disappointment, something negative. And every day of those thoughts, 90% are a repeat of yesterday. So it is no wonder why we believe so little about ourselves, or we believe so little about what we think we can or cannot do. And that really impacts and affects everything in our life: our relationships, friendships, career, impact, fulfillment, whatever it may be. And though you may want more in life, sometimes you don't believe you can attain it because you're attached to a lot of these things in your past that you're ruminating on over and over again, right? So I'm thinking, okay, well, if I really want better outcomes then, and it's going to come from better actions, those better actions come from better decisions. Those better decisions are rooted in beliefs that really align with that. And then those beliefs are rooted in thoughts. Well, what's driving my thought process? If I'm always driving on what's happened or shortcomings or any of those things, how do I shift that? Well, really, I found the core of where it all starts. And it's the one commodity that we really overlook and really never consider, and that's our focus and attention, where we're putting that, and what we're saying, what we're doing, what we're watching, what we're reading, and who we're around. Are the people that we keep close, the 5 to 7 we keep close, that we admire, we respect, we listen to, are the most influential, because with 0 degrees of separation, they're showing you what's possible or not. And I made a big decision about 14 years ago. I loved my homies, but it was the same conversation, kind of the same things over and over again. And I knew there was more I wanted out of myself and out of my life. And so I had to just kind of put some distance and then determine, okay, what are the character traits that I really want in men around me? Okay, then these are the things I want, because those are things that I also want to embody. So I need to make space. And over the course of 14 years, I have 7 men that are incredible men, exponentially successful men in many different areas, not necessarily just money, that are my core pillars of my greatest influence in life, and vice versa. And so when I realized I'm no longer going to be looking at things in life based on a point of view, I'm going to now start to look at, if it's a loss, then it's a lesson. What did I learn from it? How did that make me better? If you missed the mark, okay, guys, we get it. We missed the mark, but what's the lesson? What's the takeaway from us? Because it is not about finding the perfect path. It's about finding the path, taking the bumps, taking the lessons, and keep moving. Just keep getting better a little bit each day. And ultimately, you're going to be the one that is much farther down the road because you never lost your momentum, because you never got stuck in what happened. It's what did I learn? And so that really bled into influence and in a position of leadership and hiring people like Andy.
And you segued that absolutely perfect, because Jess, I hope you're hearing like some of the stuff that I say, that it's actually kind of similar to some of the things MD is saying, because I will be flat honest, MD, when I came to interview for the role that I eventually had you as my director, I came in and my belief was I'm a person that learned how to hack Facebook and Twitter at a very infancy stage. I was good at that. People knew I could turn little things viral. But no one was like, Andy is a marketer. Like, Andy's good at this Facebook thing. He writes posts. He can hit boost. We were just starting to do paid advertising. And when I went to that interview, I don't know if I even called myself a marketer. Like, I used to say, like, to people, it's like, hey, like, the radio thing didn't work. I got some distance with it. Like, I did a radio show. I produced shows. MD, the thing in radio, it's either you're making no money or you're Ryan Seacrest. Like, there's very little wiggle room in between. So, I was trying to figure out what that was. But when we interviewed, it was something to where it was probably pretty evident that I wasn't all the way there yet, but yet you still gave me that shot. And you were the first person that I felt like truly started to teach me marketing. Like, things we're talking about today, no one had ever had the time to sit down and talk to me about that. So that was something real powerful. Can never repay you enough to get me on that track, but just want to go through that process. Like, even myself, others, like, why was it important to bring in, educate someone that wasn't quite up to that level yet to try to build them into a success?
I had a very successful career as a photographer, but I was never formally taught. So I wasn't taught based on limitations or restrictions. I taught myself. And so I attempted to do things that maybe other people didn't because they were going by the rule book. I was going by creative inspiration and thinking, can I do this? So I didn't necessarily have limitations with that. And I flopped a lot, but I learned on the go. A great photographer said the best way to become great is just keep doing it, because you're going to master whatever it is that you repeat. So if you a master avoiding learning, then you're just going to stay the same. But if you're a master of just consistently just keep going, you're going to master whatever it is that you're doing. Just because you didn't quit, you didn't look at the mistake as proof that you're incapable. It's actually proof that you're making progress. People that are not failing are not trying. And that's one of the things that I've seen. And that's one of the things that stood out to me about you, Andy, is you were nimble about it, but you also understood people. You understood storytelling. And before I came to that agency, I had grown a fitness organization globally within about 18 months. And it was all on the back of Instagram and Facebook because of the authentic connections that we were making with people that were in that space. And also giving them a space to be able to create and thrive in what they love to do so much. When you came in, and I think you were like the fifth person I had interviewed at my standing desk in that office, I remember somebody gave a really bad Glassdoor review. It was like, they made me stand the whole interview. Sorry.
I like it. I didn't know I was a bad back person yet, but I think it was starting back then. So like the standing desk was like inspirational to me. Anything to get me out of this like hunch that I'm in right now.
Yeah. But the one of the things with you, Andy, that I really liked is you were curious, and you were not closed-minded. You saw what things were evolving into, and you saw that it was just beginning. And that, for me, when I looked at how you communicated and how you had already been leveraging social media, even in your own projects with the radio station and with different businesses, it showed me that you really understood what other people were overlooking. And that was the connection in an authentic way, that people were still caught up in the spit and polish production part of it. And you saw the humanity, the authenticity at a much earlier stage than most people. And that is, for me, coming from the private to the agency side, where I saw the real big disconnect. I wanted you on that team because I needed your influence to get a lot of people that were stuck in the old agency model ways to think different. So that's why.
I love it. And Jess, that's what we've encompassed this entire show on, is thinking different. And MD, you helped me get to that point. But Jess, I think all of us, like, we try to find different ways to get there. And I see brands that are struggling to make that transition now, but it's okay. Even if you're late on the transition, even if you're late to the TikTok world, there is still room for great marketing and even some of the small players to become big marketers with this type of mindset.
Yeah. People want to be spoken to. They don't want to be talked to. There's a difference, right?
So,
they want to feel like you understand who they are and where they are.
Okay, so with that, I have to ask, you probably get this question all the time now, but how is AI playing into the way that we make decisions? Is it helping? Is it hindering? I love your take.
I love AI in what it can help you do, where if you have a little bit of a creative block or you need some inspiration, it can help you think outside of the box. But you need to, prompt engineering is in understanding how to ask it the appropriate questions, is immensely powerful. One of the things that I've learned to do in a lot of my prompt writing is, I'll give an example, acting as a brand strategist with over 20 years experience, driving trending viral content for, let's say, an auto mechanic in Houston, Texas for the past 12 years, and then go into the prompt of what I want some direction. Then I'll finish it off with, if needed, ask me 5 follow-up questions to help dial this down to the answer that I'm really looking for. Because AI is there with all this information. It's a tremendous resource. But a lot of people are using it to give them definitive answers when, and I'm talking specifically with ChatGPT. The GEO, the guarantative engine optimization, where it is completely revamping how websites are built and even how they're worded. It's going to pull, but it's also pulling from ads too, to give you a single answer and then some links to support it on Google. When you're in ChatGPT and you're asking it questions, or a number of these AI platforms, it's going to give you answers, but it doesn't mean that it's God and that's the only answer. So there's been some recent studies that have been done that when people rely solely on ChatGPT to do everything for them, there is a reduction of the activation of the prefrontal cortex, because people are no longer demanding cognitive thought and reasoning within themselves anymore. They're leaving it to artificial intelligence to just kind of tell them what to do. I do use it, but I use it in ways that it's beneficial, and it allows me to refine a message, to maybe give me some bullet points I hadn't considered, again, to help me think through something. I used it to build out, I was just playing around with a business that I wanted to create an entire brand strategy. And within about 6 hours, I had one completely done that maybe would have taken 3 months to compile, which was amazing. But again, it still took the human. You can't remove the human out of it, because as smart as it is, there is no heart to AI. It's always going to be behind the curve, trying to learn intention and empathy, right? And so that's the superpower that we still have over AI, is the emotional part of why we do what we do, why we ask the questions that we do, why we're going to collaborate on things that we do, is because it's heart, the energy we want to put into it. It is just a tool like anything else. It's not the sole answer. It's not the umbrella that's going to fix everything, but it is an amazing tool that can help with efficiency. It can help with streamlining. It can help with creative, but it's not the end all be all. You still want the heart involved.
And Justin and I have talked about this on recent episodes, MD, where it loses me with what I'm starting to see is that, that whole AI influencer at, I think it was the tennis, it was either US Open, I think it was US Open. But when they're starting to create like AI humans or AI influencers we're supposed to be friends with, from what I've seen, at least from my market research, I know this is all very new, so it's very limited data, but I feel like what the customer has been asking for a decade is authenticity. If you start throwing out influencers and people that are people but they're not people, I just don't see the customer resonating with this. I don't see just my personal opinion. I don't see an avenue where this works. Like, I think it's good for speeding things up, but when it starts taking the place of people, that's when I think it's going to have a huge revolt in the coming years.
It's a great point. For a long time, as we've seen the demise of malls and retail, people talk about retail is dead. Retail is not dead. Bad retail is dead. When you don't deliver a great customer experience, you're going to be out of business eventually, because people will go online and rather deal with it being broken or lost or mishandled than dealing with being treated poorly or mediocre at best when they go to a business. But it does give a significant advantage to businesses that care about its customers and that look at its customers as if they're like a Shark Tank investor, right? Because you actually care. You appreciate the fact they came in. The businesses that show up and remain authentic, that's what we really do want. The more AI we're given, the less we're going to want when it comes down to making a decision about where we're going to spend our money, where we're going to invest our time and energy and money, is something that we feel like understands us. AI doesn't understand us. It's just trying to get to us. People understand people. Ultimately, people do business with people they like and trust. Well, how do you do that? You just got to show up and be authentic, be likable, be relatable, and continually tell stories, not in a way that's necessarily about the business, but tell stories that relates to the customer. And that ultimately is what's going to drive them through your door or through your website, is by being human, which, again, I'm going to go back to Sydney Sweeney. She's human. She's human. And it's creating a lot of talk. I like American Eagle. My kids like American Eagle. They're great quality. Do I go in there because of an ad campaign? No, I go in there because of the quality of their clothes. That's it. And there's a lot of brands out there, but they just happen to fit me well. But you look at a brand like Old Navy, that appeals to families and kids that want to go to a place and get decent quality clothes at an affordable price. When you could have 2 or 3 or 4 kids, man, it's expensive these days to run a home and be able to afford everything. And but you still want quality, and you still want to have a good experience. So you look at what kind of brand you're building is really what's the message that you want your audience to get about you, because that audience is really who the message needs to be about. Not trying to get an award, not trying to be general so nobody gets offended. Be bold enough to appeal to your audience. Be bold enough that your audience goes, oh yeah, that guy, I love that guy. I love that brand, right? That's what we need to remain authentic to.
And to your point about American Eagle knowing their audience, I was just checking some of the initial impact of all the noise, and her jean line is sold out.
Yep.
So there is something there. They do know the audience.
Yeah.
And that's exactly kind of to our point, on all of this, MD, is I don't like when there's these harsh reactions made about marketing from marketers right away. Just let it breathe. Let it play out. I am willing to admit when I was completely wrong on something. I think, MD, I've told you before, I saw Instagram for the first time, and when I was on Facebook and Twitter, and I remember I was like, I don't get it. I was like, I don't think this platform is going to work. Yeah. And then more and more I started okay, I'm starting to get it. Maybe it wasn't for me at that time. It doesn't have to be for you. Marketing doesn't, as marketers, it's a good reminder, it doesn't have to be something you enjoy to say that the marketing worked. So you got to give credit where credit's due. If it's upping their stock, its sales are good. Sydney Sweeney, it seems like everything she touches turns to gold right now. I don't think this was as kind of, let's just do something on a whim as people think. I think this was very strategic on American Eagle's part.
Yeah, I mean, she's very appealing to that demographic of their customer. She's cute, she's relatable, she's fun, she's bubbly, she's her. I mean, you see her on interviews through press junkets and movie promotions, and she's a very funny human. She's kind of like that girl next door that you just want to be like, I know her. She's got that girl next door feel. And people like that. They like positivity, and people also like somebody who is comfortable enough to be bold. Yeah. Because ultimately everybody does want to be bold. They're just afraid of scrutiny. But if somebody's willing to be bold and hold their ground and not be wavered by it, that shows so much respect in the character, not only of the spokesperson, but also the character of the brand.
So I know, MD, we're closing in on time here. I got just a couple quick questions because we could go on this for hours, I'm sure,
Yeah.
and it would never get boring, I promise. But let's talk about, the world of video, POV, authenticity. We worked together when it was called Musically. Now it's called TikTok. It's a very different world than Musically. Tell us, our authentic storytelling, the things that you and I tried to push, getting our authors to take risks is thing I always think back to us working together. TikTok, it's a lot more inventory, it's a lot more quick, it's a lot more lo-fi video. So it's almost what we wanted it to be. Now it is, but now it's like an inventory that's just endless. Like, how is that changing the way you approach things, and especially retail, MD? Because I think that's a game that 8 years ago might as well have been 48 years ago compared to where it's at when we started and to where it's at now. So what's this world like TikTok really bringing you to in your strategy?
TikTok is interesting. It was actually the catalyst for the brand Your Bond Daddy that I created for a Houston bail bondsman. And we were on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for shorts. And it was a way, he owned 2 different bail bonds offices. And he was like, how do I market this these days? Because there were some regulations and restrictions in how you advertise it. And bail bonds was typically a yellow pages type driven industry that you're going to flip open the yellow pages. So they were all like AA bail bonds. So they were at the very top of the yellow pages. And then they would buy the double trunk ads to get the most space. And then you'd flip through the pages of who could afford the biggest ad. With social media, and I'm talking to him, we're having lunch at this restaurant. And he was telling me about him, and I had known him and his character and why he got into bail. He used to be a drug addict, and his dad actually became a bail bondsman because it was cheaper to bail him out as a bail bondsman than as a dad. And then he opened up the agency. He ended up working with him. He was on Dog the Bounty Hunter as a guest when they were down in Houston. But I saw his heart, and we're sitting there, and I said, look, I know exactly how we're going to do this. And he told me, just in conversation, the nickname his staff had for him was Bond Daddy. Well, I know in marketing, we love to attach ourselves to things. My accountant, my trainer, my lawyer, my mechanic, my repair guy. We like to own these things. And so Your Bond Daddy was a way to reach the audience of well, what do you mean my Bond Daddy? What is that? What do you mean? And so as we're talking, I looked at the .com and all the handles, and it was completely available, all of it, all at once, with just the simplicity of @Your Bond Daddy. I said, look, trust me, but we're going to self-produce our own reality show like Dog the Bounty Hunter. And we're going to appeal to people and show them in a non-scripted way how you and your team are when you're hunting people down, but also the compassion that you have for people when you finally do get them. Because, he would, light him a cigarette. He would stop at McDonald's. He would get them, bend on a knee and put their shoes on him. Very compassionate, very authentic. And I knew this was going to be a great way to showcase culture of their businesses and become the most well-known and well-liked in the Houston area. Well, we started the first episode. We had the meeting August 11th, 12th, 2021. The first episode was in September. And when I got us on TikTok in February of 2022, within about 6 weeks, we went from trickling to, we had one of the videos take a run and had over 2 million views, and people loved how authentic it was. And then within about 6 weeks later, we hit the benchmarks on YouTube and then surpassed it. And now we've achieved well over 130 million views, just over 300,000 subscribers, fans, and followers across the channels. Because what people love is the authenticity and the real humanity of them. And that's what drove people through the doors, because they were well known. We were in the social space of being talked about and being shared. Look at these guys, look how cool they are. And then every episode we softly placed the locations in there. And it also drove SEO with using all the social platforms and especially descriptions on YouTube. So it was an incredible force of watching how to tell a story for a business in a really unique way that also remained authentic to these guys. So it was that was one of those brands that was like, man, we got this one right.
And what I love about that is it's very unexpected, because it's like you're busting a myth or a belief in our head that,
Yeah.
bondsmen, am I saying
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
Bail bonds, like
Yeah.
this group, they're a certain way. Like they are not going to have that compassion. They're not going to have that empathy for the people that they are trying to catch.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really fantastic.
People would, they could end up on an episode and they would come in and go, man, thank you. I just want to tell you a year later, I've turned my life around. Or they would come up to them when they saw them at a location gearing up before they went to show up to a house or doing a stakeout and like, hey man, we love you. Can we get a selfie? Like it was so cool for him and his team to really make a really good connection in his community and with law enforcement. And it was just it was a cool way to show what you can do when you're really courageous enough to put yourself out there. I mean, when we started, it was a little awkward. He was awkward on camera, but I said, just give it time because you'll master what you repeat. You'll get used to it. You'll forget about the cameras and you're just going to be you. And it was phenomenal. So you can go with Your Bond Eddie on YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, all that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's amazing.
So MD, let's wrap up with this. That's what I'm doing this weekend because this is a weekend I literally have nothing to do. So I need to get caught up. But let's talk about your journey right now. So tell us, what are you working on now? What are you looking to work on in the future? What can we expect from the future of MD Reilly, and where are you going with some of your marketing savviness, if you will, right now?
I am, I'm really looking to connect with some service-based businesses that really have the principles in place that really do want to take that leap of faith and begin to tell their story. Because that's, for me, I get to do that one-on-one with them. I get to pull that out and help them craft that story for their business and really turn it into a brand that their community really buys into. I see it just as a significant opportunity right now as we're really wanting more authenticity. We're really wanting people that are business owners to show us the reasons why we should really like them and choose them, share them, refer them, and ultimately think of them when we may need them, right? Because it's not always about being entertaining and doing the latest TikTok trends. Social media marketing has really come down to 3 E's. You educate, empower, and entertain. So it's not always about entertainment, but you can entertain and help and educate at the same time. Sometimes you can do all 3 at the same time. But when you look at that evolution of what we're really wanting in the social space as we're swiping, we're going to stop and watch and absorb and engage with those things that we feel like really get us. It answers us. It's relevant to us. And now it's become more interest media than social media. It's really more serving things that we're showing we're interested in. And then, Instagram opening up the captions to where it's crawlable. It's an immense power. So those that were storytellers in the caption, they're going to start to really crush it when it comes to SEO and GEO, because they've already primed their timeline with content that was full of relevant contextual keywords and key phrases and key terms that people are showing they're wanting to really vibe with. So, my recommendation for any business out there, that if you're like, man, I don't even know where to start, that's where I help. If you're like, man, how do I tell this story? Like, we've been doing the ads, we've been doing this, and it seems to kind of be falling short. Let's look at the story you're telling. Let's look at the brand you're really building. And is it really the brand that represents you and your core values? And if you don't even know what your core values are, let's find those out too. Because ultimately, when you find your pillars of why you're in business, and all of your decisions come to those 4 pillars about your core values and your mission and your vision and your purpose, now you know exactly how to move forward. But a lot of times, small business owners have just grown, exchanging the hats to grow, and they kind of grew this business that they're like, what are we? We know what we do, and we kind of forgot why we started doing it in the first place. That's where I come in and really begin to pull that out of you again, put some wind back into your sails, wind back into you and your team, and then begin to really pull that story out and put it back together in a way that's really going to resonate with the audience.
And I love it. And this could be something maybe for a part 2 one day. I think about this, MD, and our Texas roots, Buc-ee's, H-E-B, Gallery Furniture, Mattress Mac. They all have these stories. Each of the big brands in Texas, the owners and their story of building the brand, is a huge part of the brand that literally has nothing to do with the product. but it has
Right.
everything to do with the product because it's their story. So I love that, MD. We could go on for hours and hours and hours on this. Before we leave, we didn't get too much into it today. Just again, big thank you for everything that you've done for my career, our continued learnings and banter we have together. And, most importantly, like one of the big lessons I want to leave the listeners with is that I tell the story all the time is that, I was unemployed. We both lost our jobs at that agency. But when I was kind of sitting and eating a bunch of cereal and showing on Netflix and applying for 48 jobs a day, you were the one person from that place who would reach out to me consistently. And that will forever remain in my heart because there is no lonelier place than being unemployed. So just forever thankful for that, your guidance, and continued friendship.
Man, brother, you and I had such a great connection. And even though it might have been I hired you, you're humans and you connect and you become friends and you just enjoy and respect each other's craft and skills. And man, that's a tough place to be. And it can be very lonely. And I treat people the way that I hope they would treat me if I was in that position, not asking for anything in return, but just showing up and giving somebody hey, you're not alone, because that's ultimately what we all want in life is we want to feel like we're accepted and supported for who we are, not because we're having to earn it. We really don't want performance love from people. We want to be loved because of who we are, not because of what we do, because we make mistakes all the time. So that means if I make a mistake, you're not going to love me anymore, you're going to reject me. That's not me. So you're a good dude, man. We really got along and I just enjoyed your vibe. And I still just enjoy watching your career and watching you thrive in what you do, man, because everything that you have in life, you have earned because you just never gave up on yourself, man. And you kept putting in the work, refining, looking for ways to get a little bit better. And people will see that. And, you end up having a lot more opportunities as a result versus being closed-minded and it being about ego, because that's really going to be short-lived. So I'm proud of you, man. It's just been such a joy to watch your career become what it is because it's all from your belief in yourself. Even when sometimes you didn't believe, you kept showing up for yourself, and that's made all the difference.
Appreciate it, MD. The words they continue to be in our lessons that Jess and I talk about. I'm sure Jess hears them all the time, me repeating some of the stuff that we talk about. So be sure to give MD a follow, Michael-David Reilly on LinkedIn, and we will catch up soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, MD.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Jess. Good to meet you.
You as well.
So, Jess, a wonderful segment there with MD, a very empowering segment, and I'd say a great philosopher of the game here when it comes to digital and social media. So I hope it's almost like almost for our listeners too, like a backstage pass, of the things that we used to talk about.
Okay, well, MD definitely lives up to the brand doctor name. That is for sure. I learned that. When we were first getting into the conversation, I was really feeling Karate Kid with the two of you. And then as we progressed, and I got a master class as well, now we're at Cobra Kai. So yeah. I love it.
I haven't watched Cobra Kai though. But I have had that on my long list of shows that I've needed to watch, but it hasn't quite cracked yet.
Yeah, I watched the first season just because I'm a big Karate Kid fan. Watch the first season. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But no, it was wonderful. I think it was timed perfectly too, because my entire feed right now just is Sydney Sweeney. Like literally, you wouldn't have expected it to bleed into LinkedIn as much because we get some controversy on LinkedIn, but I just think it's because you and I are in marketing circles, so it's like a hot topic. But it's like everything, and I was like, this is perfect because I know MD is going to have a viewpoint on this, and it really wraps in, I think, to the whole conversation about, are you doing marketing right for you, the customer? Do you have to like everything? Like all these big topics. And I think they're themes that we've had on this show for 3 years now.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm getting Sydney Sweeney. I'm also getting still the astronomer.
Yes.
The Gwyneth Paltrow coming into the mix. Yeah, the PR. And then I'm also getting, because one of my guilty pleasures is, it's like reality TV for you, the Summer I Turned Pretty. Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
Dunkin', is that what they're saying now? They just dropped an ad with one of the stars from the Summer I Turned Pretty, and he mentions the word jeans, and now there's controversy over that as well. So
See, like, but see,
there's
here's
a
the
lot of
thing.
hate.
But here's the thing, Jess. This is where I get on my tangent on this. Like, the way they did this campaign, like, if you took 50 marketers and you assigned them, hey, we got Sydney Sweeney as an influencer, as a, brand ambassador. 50 of us would have done it 50 different ways, and that's okay. Like, I can tell you how I would have done it. Like, if I was a part of American Eagle right now, and he's like, Andy, we got a brand partnership with Sydney Sweeney. We got to make sales pop. My approach would have not even have done that type of imagery. My approach would have been like, well, I want to build a contract with her to post on TikTok and Instagram. I want her to create a TikTok trend about Sydney Sweeney's specific jeans, and maybe there's a dance that goes along with it. Like, I would have went in a whole other direction, Jess. And my direction could have sucked for all I know. Like, I've bombed some marketing campaigns. I've also done really good on some marketing campaigns. But yeah, I put it on the post. I just put on LinkedIn. I would have gone a different direction, but I still respect the direction they went. Like, it doesn't mean it's wrong. And I think that's what I'm starting to get a little frustrated with some of our marketing community, is they get really like angry with marketers or call them out. And I saw one post about they're hiring at American Eagle, and they're like, I wonder why. And I was like, that's not cool. We don't need to be marketers bringing down other marketers. Like, because they do it different than you doesn't mean it's always wrong. It's a creative, it's philosophical, it's the way they see the approach. And as we talked through it today, and MD brought some more to it that I haven't even thought about, with the actual being the blue jeans, and that's how you're marketing that type of jean type. It's just so interesting to hear that. So that's kind of just been my rant on it. Like, it just doesn't have to always be for me.
Totally. We supporting each other, learning, just as MD was saying, like, this is all learning lessons. And to me, it's like, if you know the customer, you can connect with them, you have a deep understanding of their needs, and you put all of your focus on that, you're not going to lose.
Yep. And like, we'll take it to another perspective, Jess, astronomer and Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, honestly, I don't know what I would do if I was on their marketing team. Like, honestly, I'd probably, like, to be frank, I'd probably be getting my resume ready right now. And I'd be updating it. I'd be using ChatGPT to fix the resume really quick. But, like, them throwing Gwyneth Paltrow at it and, like, trying to almost, like, turn the page really fast, like, I get it. Like, it was kind of funny. Like, I know it's a serious subject we're talking about with what's happening there, but, like, what do you do? Like, what playbook do you have as a marketing team?
I will say again, they did something. They took a risk, and it kept them top of mind, kept their brand. They continued the conversation. They continued the story. And you're right. Like, I don't know what I would do. I probably, like you, I would be getting my resume ready, just because to me it would be an up, like, again, just under, like, having like that full behind the scenes understanding of, wow, my values do not align with the organization's values. And then that would be the biggest upset for me.
And then, I just think about it as a marketing team. So we think about you and I, we consult several clients, and we know the pressures they have. Like, one that comes up for me occasionally is, Andy, we're trying to take our company public. Like, I can give you, like, just loose playbook on, like, what types of ad groups or what you should probably use for that, but there's no, like, exact playbook on this. Like, someone might invest some rich person might invest $25 million in your company because they like your value. They might like your product. They might just like you. Like, I don't know, like, what the playbook is. So, like, I think about Astronomer right now, is that is a company that's, in their funding stage where they're trying to, like, pop. Like, they've had some big players put money into that company, and they stand to lose a lot. Their marketing team, if they don't get X and Y, the marketing team's going to be the first to go. That seems like just how the game works right now. Like, if you can't turn our company public, or you can't do this, then the marketing team's gone. So what else do you have to lose than take risks at times? And that's how I view a marketing team. Like, there's times they may not even agree with the values at this point, but you got to try something. Like, it's your resume, your career, so they're going to try something.
And since you've brought this creative inspiration into the mix, I now think about how would Liquid Death handle all of this?
Yes.
So I do ask that question.
Yes, they would go super unhinged. Like, they would lean right into it and probably have a social media campaign ready the next day. Yeah, Liquid Death, they were actually just at the Kesha concert I went to. So we saw Kesha over the weekend. Wonderful show. Highly recommend it. It goes back to my radio days. But Liquid Death was everywhere. Like, at the bars, at the food stands. Like, there's Liquid Death. And the comment was something to the effect of, relax, it's just water. So I loved it. Like, they just play on that whole thing, like, we're just water all the time.
And I was just thinking about this. I don't know Kesha's full backstory, but isn't she recovering from something? Like, didn't she went through a lot? So I feel like even that connection and like bringing water is like a main drink at a concert or at one of her concerts, like, really makes a lot of sense.
She went through bulimia. So that was
Okay.
a big thing for her. That was about 10 years ago. The most recent thing in her story is that she had her music withheld from Dr. Luke, I believe it is. Was a music producer. She had sexual assault charges against him. They eventually settled out of court. So basically, when they were in court, she couldn't perform her own songs. So, like, her music got all held up. So kind of like now, because they've settled, she regained rights to her music. It's kind of now like a freedom to her that she has ownership of her own songs and can celebrate with the fans, because she wasn't necessarily to connect with the fans with her music in the ways she used to be, because so much was held up in court. So it's kind of seen as this like reward to the fans that have stuck with her, that she's had her battles with her health. She's had her battles in legal. It was really cool to see her because she looks super fit. Like, we were up there, like, she looks strong, like, emotionally, physically, like, what she was able to bring to the table. So it was a wonderful show. And, good nostalgia. Nostalgia sells. That was my era as a wild child there, as my early 20s. So I super resonate with the TikToks of the world.
Love it.
But always a good time. Always some marketing lessons to be learned as I come back. But, now, Jess, as we wrap this up, another fantastic episode to talk with MD today, and just get some fresh perspectives on different things. I want to continue this with some of our bosses episodes. I have a few more. Like, I'm gonna reach out to some of my radio days, so you'll be able to take it super old school. Like, if I take it like really back, like, I'll take it to my internship radio host that I work with. Like, we'll talk about a lot of crazy things, about how he introduced me to radio, how I became a host. He was the first person to let me try Vegas bombs at the club. Like, we could certainly like derail this podcast into like a very weird place, and it'll be the best place.
I love it. Yes, please do. I mean, you set the bar high with MD. I will reach out. Yes, I will reach out to a few managers in the past as well, and get their take. See if they're interested.
I'll have some surprise questions too. So what was Jess like when she was, like 23 and figuring life out and all this good stuff? So we'll see where they go with it.
I should embrace all of the immaturity and the daily mess ups.
It's part of our
learning. Career. It's all learning.
But with that, we're out of time. A big thank you again, MD, coming on. Give him a follow, LinkedIn, and we'll be back soon with some more boss episodes, some more inspiration, and we'll see if we're back with more Sydney Sweeney or not. We'll see how long that talk track lasts us. But until then, Jess, we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.